A man built a machine to save labor, and it chained 2 more generations to it. Eli Whitney Jr. was born on December 8, 1765, and would die on January 8, 1825. In 1793, while staying at Catherine Green's Mulberry Grove plantation near Savannah, Georgia, he built a device that would change the world, the cotton gin. Britannica notes his machine was inspired by manual brushes invented by enslaved workers. The dream was simple: reduce labor. By hand, one person could clean about a pound of cotton lint per day. With Whitney's hand-powered gin, one operator could clean roughly 50 pounds a day. It should have been a triumph for the inventor. It was not. Whitney and his partner Phineas Miller planned to charge farmers 2/5 of the value of every ginned crop. Planters resented the price, and the design was mechanically simple, easy to copy. So, they pirated it. A loophole in the 1793 Patent Act meant Whitney and Miller could not win infringement suits or collect damages until the law changed. In Georgia, infringers burned down one of their warehouses. The patent, granted in 1794, was never renewed by Congress in 1812. State settlements meant the firm grossed about $90,000 and netted practically nothing. Whitney's own verdict was bitter. An invention can be so valuable as to be worthless to the inventor. But if the inventor gained nothing, who did? Part 1. The Bottleneck Moves. Here is the paradox at the heart of the story. Whitney hoped his gin would reduce the number of workers needed to process cotton. Instead, cleaning stopped being the bottleneck, and picking became the new one. The machine could clean 50 times faster than a human hand, which meant every acre that could be planted, harvested, and picked was suddenly worth planting. Short staple cotton, once nearly worthless because it was so hard to clean, became wildly profitable overnight. The numbers tell the story with brutal clarity. U.S. cotton exports jumped from under 500,000 pounds in 1793 to 93 million pounds by 1810. The Bill of Rights Institute records production rising from less than 150,000 pounds before the gin to more than 18 million by the turn of the century. The Eli Whitney Museum counts under 9,000 bales in 1790, over 200,000 bales by 1800, and more than 4 million bales by 1860. And the machine kept accelerating. The National Underground Railroad Freedom Center describes a productivity ladder, an enslaved person cleaning about 5 pounds a day by hand. Whitney's hand gin about 50, and by the Civil War, steam-powered gins about 2,500 pounds a day. Part 2. The human cost. Faster cleaning meant a hunger for more cotton, and cotton meant hands in the fields. Whose hands? The answer is written in a demographic record that is hard to read. The number of enslaved people in the United States rose from around 700,000 in 1790 to about 3.2 million by 1850. The Freedom Center puts the growth from roughly 790,000 to 4 million, while annual cotton production grew from about 2,000 bales to some 4.8 million. History and Charts traces the enslaved population from about 900,000 in 1800 to about 4 million in 1860. The number of slave states rose from 6 in 1790 to 15 by 1860. Behind those figures lies a human catastrophe. Approximately 1 million enslaved people were sold from the northern states and the upper South to the lower South to feed the demand for cotton, described as the largest forced migration in American history, one that destroyed countless families, separating parents from children, husbands from wives. And the system became the foundation of Southern wealth itself. By 1860, enslaved workers made up 48% of the South's total wealth. People were counted as capital. Part 3. a debate without a verdict. But did one machine really do all this? Or was it swept along by forces far larger than itself? It would be too easy and too convenient to say a single invention caused it all. Historians resist that simplicity, and so should we. The National Constitution Center notes that the question of the cotton gin's decisive role in slavery is still being debated, citing the landmark 1958 economic study by Conrad and Meyer. Ohio State's e-history is blunt. It cannot be stated with certainty that the invention of the cotton gin saved and sustained slavery. What we can say is that the gin and the plantation and the market moved together. The device did not descend from nowhere. Britannica's account of the technology makes clear the cotton gin was directly called forth by mechanized spinning in England, a huge new cotton market that hand cleaning could never supply. The industrial system and the plantation system fed each other, so the story is not one man's guilt or one machine's power. It is a system spanning an ocean where machines in one country and bondage in another became locked in a single economy. To see how deep that lock ran, we have to leave Georgia and cross the Atlantic to a place where the demand was born. Part 4, King Cotton and Manchester. Follow the thread across the sea to the mills of Lancashire. By the 1850s, about 3/4 of all Lancashire cotton was slave-grown, supplied by the American South. The historian Jean Daddle notes that Britain relied on slave-produced American cotton for over 80% of its supply, that English textile mills accounted for 40% of Britain's exports, and that 1/5 of Britain's 22 million people were tied to cotton textiles. By 1860, southern plantations supplied about 75% of the world's cotton, with European and New England purchases rising from 720,000 bales in 1830 to nearly 5 million bales in 1860. This was the empire they called King Cotton. At its peak, about 2,500 Lancashire textile factories directly employed some 430,000 people, and up to 4 million, about a fifth of Britain's population, depended on cotton in some form. The prosperity of Manchester was built on the bondage of the American South. Two worlds tied together by a single fiber. But what happens to an empire built on one supply when that supply is suddenly cut? Part 5, the Cotton Famine. In 1861, the world was about to find out. When Civil War came, the Confederacy made a gamble. It believed that cutting off cotton would force Britain and France to intervene on its side. That bet was compounded by the Union blockade Lincoln ordered on April 16, 1861, which choked off southern ports. But the gamble failed. Europe found other sources, and cotton booms sprang up in Egypt and Russian Turkestan. Yet before those alternatives arrived, Lancashire starved. During the cotton famine of 1861 to 1865, the mills ran out of raw cotton. The workers of Lancashire went from being the most prosperous laborers in Britain to the most impoverished. The textile trade lost 2/3 of its export value to China between 1861 and 1862. Factories fell silent. Families who had never known hunger now knew it well. And here, the human choice becomes almost unbearable in its clarity. These workers understood exactly where their cotton came from and what its cutoff meant for their own tables. They faced a decision: side with the source of their bread or side against the system that produced it. On December 31st, 1862, Part 6, Sublime Heroism. In a hall in Manchester, they met to decide, and what they chose still echoes. The Manchester cotton workers, jobless and hungry, voted to support the Union and its fight against slavery. They chose to endorse the very blockade that was starving them, because it was aimed at ending human bondage. It was a moral decision made by people with almost nothing left to give. Word of it reached Abraham Lincoln, and on January 19, 1863, he replied. He called the Manchester workers' stand an instance of sublime Christian heroism which had not been surpassed in any age or country. Consider the full arc. A man builds a machine to reduce labor and dies having earned almost nothing from it, remembered instead for pivoting to muskets and pioneering interchangeable parts and the American system of manufacturing. The machine he built to save work instead multiplied the demand for the most brutal labor of all. That labor clothed the world and enriched an empire an ocean away. And when the fiber that bound them together was finally cut, the poorest people at the end of that chain chose principle over survival. The message is not in any lecture. It is in the distance between what Whitney intended and what the world did with his invention, and in the fact that, at the very end of that terrible thread, ordinary people still chose to stand for something larger than themselves. This story touches on slavery, forced family separation, and human suffering. If this history weighs on you, consider reaching out to a trusted person or a local mental health support line. In the US and Canada, you can dial or text 988, and in the UK, you can call Samaritans at 116 123.